Hello, Christina Rizzo. Thanks for tuning into this podcast. Hope you all are doing well. Ephesians 5:11. Take no part in darkness with the ungodly, rather expose them. Why would I? Because we live in a sinful world, it is important to um, expose the wolves and quote the scripture. And I also do this on my broadcast. So this is a backup, and I'm going to talk about what's the aftermath of the civil rights movement this upcoming Monday of recognizing or observing a Marxist who believed in a different Jesus. Now, before you all jump to conclusions and get out in your feelings, first off, I would advise you to listen to the entire podcast before you comment. Because if you just look at the thumbnail and the title and then just type, hear me out. Because this is part one, and the second part, I'm going to go into black femicide, how this affects black women the most. Collectively, men are more violent than women. So the so-called black counterparts in black America are the men and doing detrimental harm toward um, the women and children. And there's no secret, even if you look at the urban areas. So I would encourage you to hear me out. So starting with the 1940s and then up until currently today, I didn't get a chance to go too in depth because on my broadcast, it's only 25 minutes long. So I just did the split, and even then, my time was running short. But I did cover Black economics and crimes there from since the 40s up until now, just based on little chunks. And I'm not going to include racism as an excuse. I'm not going to do that. So if that's what you're looking for, this is not. You can go ahead and just shut it off now. Because I've always believed that there are poor choices. The stats are out there. Being a black woman, whatever God's purpose of putting me here as such, there's no secret that not only uh, black women are 6 times more likely to be deleted by a black male, but also with the STDs, chlamydia, gonorrhea being one of them. No, it's not me. I'm completely celibate. I don't believe in fornication as a follower of Christ. In addition to the unwed births, which is also sin, sexual sin. So racism has nothing to do with that. So I'm not going to blame it on a system, whatever that means, why crime is prevalent against or in the it's not really a community. I'll just say among within blacks in general. So it states here in 1940s, Black Americans navigated a landscape of legal segregation with Jim Crow. Okay, this is during that era, shortly after the transatlantic slave trade. So economics, black men earn approximately, excuse me, 40% of that of white men earned. The Great Migration in World War II, industrial demand spurred rapid wage gains, particularly for black women who shifted from domestic services. Today, we have since the 1970s and as of 2026, black Americans hold over 80% less wealth. And this is due to, I'm just going to be honest with you, uh, black male disadvantage. Black women do just fine, despite that we have two strikes against us by race and gender. We do, I think we're the only women in the country that do much better than the men economically. Crime and incarceration, 1940s. 81% of black families lived in poverty, and 30% by the 1970s. Homicide and crime rates were notably lower, so it's not racism at all. When I get into the family next time in part two, you'll see there's also a difference. Putting God first, and black women were married first before having children. And I think the out of wedlock birth at that time was like 25%. Uh, Lower than the subsequent decades, the legal system was used to exclude. Okay, so there may have been some in some countries. I know in Dixieland, under Jim Crow, there may have been, but yet Black Americans did decent economically, and also in regards to family. Today, mass incarceration, law and order politics started in the 60s and 70s. Okay, this is supposed to be after the civil rights movement. Forced integration, and nationally, because it was only in the South due to blacks voting Republican. That's why this so-called coming after blacks who voted Republican. Once again, that's why they were. That's where violent crimes were um, by the white thugs of the Ku Klux Klan, KKK, whatever they call themselves, came after them, bombing houses, death threats, and whatnot. Um, and but this wasn't all over the country that where liberals say blacks just didn't have the right to vote at all. That's not true. So this shifted the U.S. population from majority white to majority black by the 1990s. Black Americans killed by police. No, white Americans face higher rates of this. So interestingly, when it comes to that and government assistance, they'll say whites are higher. But when it comes to crime and police brutality, they don't want a lot of liberals. This is liberals in general, not just blacks. Liberals in general don't want to admit this. Okay, so the primary drivers of increase incarceration rate for Black Americans from the war on drugs started in 1971 up into the 80s, selling poison in your communities, law and order politics, post civil rights era backlash led to get tougher policies, legislations like the 1994 crime bill provided federal funding to states to build more prisons. Yes, because they're committing more crimes. They're not innocent. They belong in there. Let's see. Connection to the economic shift, criminalization of poverty. Well, most people would say that poverty leads to crime, but it's the complete opposite. Because if you have a criminal record, a lot of these people can't even vote. And an ex-felon even told me this. What makes you think they'll get a decent job anywhere? I mean, a decent job where um, they can be able to support themselves. Whether things are changing, I don't know. I used to work when I worked in the a Spanish-speaking immigrant community or migrant community, helping teaching life skill English when I worked with city colleges for almost a decade. There were times when the and you could tell where they come from because the I don't know if it was a jail or a prison was not too far from the school. So so if these people were to break out, the first thing they're gonna find is shelter. So on my life, I don't. If my life depended on it, I don't think I would want to live near a prison. But anywho, uh, they were helping them, like they had some type of job fair for them, and I think they were just they're not really big companies. Companies some of you may have heard of, like a UPS, maybe like part time loading trucks and things like that, but not a high corporate company where they can make a decent living. And I know this is going to sound bad, but I did tell especially my female students, please do not, at break time, please do not leave your purses in here. Okay. The loss of industrial jobs led to increased reliance on illicit markets for survival. Yeah, right. Authorities responded with punitive measures rather than economic reinvestment, effectively criminalizing the result poverty. Well, the gap. Let's see. The criminal record reduces lifetime earnings by approximately 360,000 for black men compared to 270 for whites. Yeah. Well, this is the reason I don't give excuses because you know who has the lowest prison rates. This is a non. And you can probably guess. This is a non. These are non-white people too. Asians. And even if they were to get in trouble like that, I don't know if you all remember that mass shooter in Virginia, because I've been to Charlottesville before. Uh, at that school, University of Virginia, he was part Asian, and the family begged for forgiveness, and they how highly they were ashamed of this criminal act. So they're proud. They have some human decency to say that this is not okay. So that's why I can't um, deal with the excuses. Um, Now, and a writer like Michelle, that lady that wrote the new Jim Crow, people like that you need to mark and avoid. I would rather, or I would recommend Heather McDonald that states the facts about crime and economics. Charlie Kirk also did a good job. He actually argued during a debate on Jubilee, where you have to have this one person debating these 25 others. I did mention this as an intro to my podcast, how Black Americans did much better in the 1940s, despite of the so-called oppressive civil right, Jim Crow laws, excuse me, or racial oppression. Systematic accountability, again, no voting rights for them. Uh, Jobs. I think they have difficulty um, getting homes. So unless they're living under some woman that's that desperate to be with them, or she has low self-esteem to be with somebody like that, because just like men have standards of, and some men have told me this, you know, based on a woman's body count, they won't be with her. If she's a single parent, he won't be with her. Just like they have a right to discriminate, you should too. And I'm talking to all women here. I would suggest do not date or marry an ex-con. Now, if you all were married when he went in there, unless it was self-defense, I can understand that. But no, just voluntarily getting yourself in trouble, no. No, you have a choice. And the falsely accused, those are rare cases as well. Trying to think, I can't think of what else because I had something else on my mind in relation to this, but it'll probably pop up when I do part two tomorrow. But yeah, despite of all of that, and we had a biracial president for 2 terms, uh, Black Americans haven't changed much as far as socially, economically. Um, if anything, generation after generation after generation, getting worse with these fatherless homes for nearly 80 years. Christina Redso, thanks for listening. Pray for our nation and our brothers and sisters under the persecuted church. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his light shine upon you. I'll talk to you as soon as the Lord wills.